start the countdown.
Dans notre quotidien.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Today we are once again working on the medieval village in a two-point perspective. I know that this has been going on for a couple of days. This is a much longer project than I've worked on in the past, so we've got a lot of small changes and small tweaks that we've been doing over time. I think I've put in probably about 5 hours so far total on this thing. And I'm starting to get into the detail stage where I'm finally starting to put like the fine details up in, for instance, this beam that supports the roof of the building. I've got a nice detail element there. We're going to replicate that over here on this other side, and we're going to start trying to get these things locked down. There's some things I'm not happy with that we may end up going back and retouching. Hey Pat, thanks for joining. We'll probably end up extending out this front of the building where this front door is. It feels, I feel like I need to break up this rock texture. It's just too solid. So we'll probably break that up. And we're just going to see how much we can get done in about an hour. So thanks for tuning in. We're going to get to work. By the way, if you have any questions, feel free to just post them in the comments, and I will be more than happy to talk about anything at all. Let's start. I got this beam has a little decorative swirl on the top of it, so I'm going to try to replicate that. Maintaining a nice perspective on this building. I'm going to zoom in a little closer, and I usually try not to work this close, but with this small detail at a really small scale, it's kind of one of those things that I'll need to do from time to time. Just try not to work constantly that close to the screen, because you will almost inevitably lose sight of the big picture. You know, your angles will start getting off. Zoom back out, take a look at that original one. Okay, so I've got it kind of separated there, so I'll want to do that as well. Additionally, I added kind of like a rope brace or a strapping brace right there to kind of break up the long swooping lines. And you're already gone, so I don't know why I'm still talking to you. But just talking for the sake of talking, I guess. So I'm going to add that same swooping element. Maybe add a little bit more of a distinction to the size. A little bit more heft and weight on it. I'm going to end up doing the same jagged roof details here, but I also, on this other rooftop, I ended up flattening that edge right there above the beam so it makes a little bit more sense. So you're going to have like the beam come up, the beam's going to come up and then it flattens out at the top, so the roof is basically hanging on that beam. I think it adds a kind of nice character to the roof edge. Now for these little roofs here, I don't know if I want to do the same swoop pattern. They don't necessarily need the same swoop, but I definitely want to have a beam coming out there, have some kind of element. Let's go and put that flattened edge right there real quick. That way I know that it's in there. I don't have to worry about it anymore. Now additionally, on this side over here, I added this brace piece under the eaves. So I kind of want to replicate that as well. But I'm going to do that on a separate layer and merge them together in a minute, because it'd suck to screw that up. I'm going to actually go to one of my under layers, put that's too close to a tangent. I'm going to put it right there, the bottom of the arc and the top of the arc. Don't be afraid to use rulers and legend markers like that. I mean, they're very helpful tools. I know that the first time I saw somebody uses these tools, I was like, oh, that's so cheating. But I mean, at the same time, as much as it's considered cheating by us purists, you see that I'm using it now. It's a matter of working smarter. You don't want to invest all your time trying to get like a perfect angle. You could spend 10 hours working on a single image, or like a single detail on an image, and if you're so caught up in trying to get that perfect circle drawn by hand, you could be working for an eon trying to draw a perfectly smooth circle. If you've got the tools to help you do it faster, that's what a production studio is going to want from you. They're not going to want, they don't want somebody that can draw one perfect circle every 10 hours. They want somebody that can take a tool and make a perfect circle in 10 minutes, if not faster. You got to remember it's a cost benefit analysis for them. They look at you as a commodity. You are a thing to them, unfortunately. I mean, it's a sad way to look at the industry, but I mean, from a business perspective, you are only as good as your ability to produce art for a studio. If you want to work at a studio, the only way they're going to hire you, the only reason they're going to hire you, is for your ability to produce art. Bubbly personality, things like that, those definitely help you get hired. But if you have the best personality and you can't draw a stick figure, they've got no use for you, and they will not be gentle or kind in the telling you of that. It's one of those harsh life lessons. But here's the good news: you can practice your way to better art. You may not be able to draw a perfect circle yet, but you can use the tools that are available and make that perfect circle so that you can get in the door. And then once you're in the door, practice. Just practice every chance you have. And you may not have been able to draw that perfect circle before, but once you start doing it every day, 8 hours a day, you know, you'll bust out a perfect circle with no problem. Trick is you got to get in the door first. So use the tools that you have. Once you're in there, then then worry about your purism, your purity of your craft. I mean, everybody should care that that looks crooked. I mean, I know it's not because I did the lines, but that looks so crooked right now. That's why that one's higher. Let's check the lower edge. I'll need to race up to there. Okay. Couple minor corrections, and I think we're solid. I think we're good there. Now, hold on. Did I take that? I took that triangle all the way up to the line. Now I've lowered it there. Okay. Here's what I'm going to do. I'll merge that with below. And I am going to move it up. Yeah, I can make that work. That looks a lot better. Okay, turn that off. So I want to put some put some awnings or something over here. Give kind of an extra little markety scene kind of thing up here. Maybe that'll break up maybe that will break up the entirety of I don't know, we're gonna find out here. Let's come down here and work on it for a little bit. And I'll more than likely be working on this tomorrow night as well. I don't think I'm gonna get finished tonight, but if anybody tunes in and they want to talk, I mean, just hit me up. I'll be just sitting here working. I would love to talk. I got no specific topics in mind, but yeah, what if I put the banners up to there? That would mean 1, 2, 3. Divide that by kind of thirds. Put 1 point there, 1 point like kind of there. So when you're working with fabrics and draperies, it's a matter of thinking about the pinching points, where the fabric is pinching, and how it kind of reacts to that pinching motion. Fabric fabric works pretty. Oh, sorry about that. Fabric works pretty much the same across all all types of fabric. They all pretty much work the same way. I actually watched a show recently where somebody was trying to 3D print a fabric substitute. As you can see, or as you can hear, I've got a 3D printer in the background here, so I'm also into 3D modeling and printing. But this guy was trying to make a fabric alternative out of rigid plastic. And there's a lot of aspects to fabric that is really kind of complex, that you really can't replicate per se with rigid materials, because the material itself can stretch and warp around other rigid objects. And so you end up with these points of tension where it pulls, it pulls the material to a point, and from that it tries to find an equilibrium between the tension that's being exerted on it. I'm trying to think my words through and how I describe this, because it's kind of a difficult thing to explain. I mean, once you start understanding it, it makes more and more sense, and you'll start seeing, what I'm talking about in your own daily lives. But without it being explained to you, it's really kind of an abstract kind of a concept. The way that material just kind of pulls against itself and drapes down. I'm gonna try something that's called a non-destructive painting or drawing mode. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a white layer that I'm gonna basically put underneath, if this will let me. Nope, it did not let me. Where's that layer? Give me a new layer. Thank you. Some of these tools won't let you do what I'm trying to do right now. Some of them will. So what I've done basically is I've just created a white layer in between all these fancy rocks that I drew and the house that I drew and this new tarp that I'm kind of draping from it, so that I can see what the final image is going to look like without actually having to completely erase all these rocks in case I don't like how it looks. I would have to just go back to my original save file, and it would be a huge pain in the ass. But this way, I haven't destroyed anything. So if I later decide I don't like the way it looks, I can quickly get back to this point simply by getting rid of the white layer underneath and whatever layer is bothering me. But I'm actually really loving that. I'm liking that look. So I don't think that's what's gonna happen. I think it's pretty solid. So you can see, you know, I've got a point of tension, and this fabric pulls to it. All the lines are pointing to it. And then I've got another point of tension, and they kind of curve up back over to there. But the center of these, there's nothing supporting them, so they fall to the ground, and when they do that, they curl up because they're held on those points. It's a really complicated kind of an idea, really complex idea. Okay, so now I'm gonna do some little stands with some patrons, and I'm gonna use this door kind of as a guide. To how tall these patrons should be. That's not the direction I wanted to go. There we go. I have these people working at this little market outside here, so they don't necessarily need to be descript. I'm not really doing any kind of character design for them. I'm just sort of putting some placeholder silhouettes in. So you can see, you might think that this person needs to be much, much taller, but in reality, somebody walking up to this stand would only be, you know, about that tall. Broaden out their shoulders. Now we're going to put a kind of a stall or a stand kind of in between these two people, basically covering up the feet of the people in the back here. But I've got some people in there for scale and reference, and just kind of add a little bit of life to the picture. Put that back down to my 0.5. Man, that was spot on. Good eyeballing on that. Again, I'm just kind of putting some drapery lines on here. This cluster is a little bit too clustered, so I'm gonna pull back a little bit. Add a little bit of texture on the ground here underneath to kind of break up that just perfectly straight line. And then, what kind of vendor has an empty table, right? No vendor has an empty table. A self-respecting vendor, at least. So let's put a couple of little baskets or something. Full of stuff. Break up that line. big thing is breaking up that line, like breaking up that top line so that you don't have just a stark hard line up at the top of your table. It kind of takes the life away from the table here. What are these things? I don't really know, man. They're tiny. You're not really ever gonna see them. It could be bread, could be fruit, could be all kinds of stuff. The key thing here is that you just give some depth and volume to the objects on the table and make the table very interesting to look at, even though it's just a freaking table, honestly. Could be anything on this table here, honestly. I'm gonna put some wine bottles. I'm trying to think of shapes and I will throw the people back in, and I'm gonna erase the parts of the people that are behind the table. Back up, and all of a sudden you can immediately see I've got this little scene set where there's clearly some people at the table. You know, they're there to do business of some sort, and I mean, it doesn't matter who or what they are. You know, they are not important. The matter is that they're there with this table, and this interesting little element is here. I'm gonna tuck her foot in a little bit because it's kind of hanging out past that table edge. I don't want it to make it seem like she has her foot in front of it. I'm assuming it's a she. I'm assigning this gender role to them because that's kind of how I see it as I'm painting it or drawing it, whichever you want to call it. This is more drawing. This isn't really painting. I definitely have done some painting stuff where I will paint large portions of images, but this is truly more drawing than painting because it's all line. It's not value, color, or anything else like that. It's just the raw details. That is looking pretty awesome. And I just need to come back in and really sell the fact that this is like a slanted tiered table. Right now it reads like a table that is done at the wrong angle because of negligence or inability to draw something flat in space. So I really need to sell the fact that these are little steps. And you can clearly see, yes, it's intentionally sloped up. actually adds a little bit more visual interest to these tables, because once I took out that stone pattern, they got really boring really fast. Yeah, I'm digging that. I really like that. Let's put some more something on that so it doesn't look quite as weird. It's amazing how just a little bit kind of livens up that that entire area. couple of simple barrels, maybe a sack of something. Not digging that so much. Scheiße. So still got to do the windows, and I still got to do the rooftops. Let's see, wood texture. Let me pull back and see how I feel about that front now that I've broken that up a little bit. Still feels super straight. I'm trying to think what I can do to make that building edge a little bit better. I'm actually thinking about getting rid of these. I was looking at some medieval reference for supporting or bracing buildings like this, and I saw some pretty cool shapes and things. Those big posts just really didn't fit the rest of the feeling I've got going on here, so I figured I'll get rid of them. You know what, I may get rid of this too. Take that up higher. Just take that like all the way up. I don't know. I feel very indecisive about a lot of things right now. Because I could just do that entire little section there in wood panel, and it would look pretty good. Not quite sure. Still feel like I want to widen that door, make it bigger. That's about center there. keeps all the rain and shit out. So. What? Those are no good. What are you talking about, bro? Those are perfect. You're just jealous because yours. I don't. I have no idea what yours looks like actually, so I can't really make any kind of judgment about it. You gotta get on it, man. You gotta get working. We'll probably get off here in a second. That's way too dark. Oh, that's frustrating. A curve within a curve. Ellipseception. That's working better. Oh, damn it. Two hinges or three? What do you think? Thinking three. Three looks pretty good.
Thinking I may do more stonework right around this now. Kind of pop it out a little bit. Although, you know what? That is a task for tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. I think I'm going to call it right here. I know, kind of in the middle of what I was doing, but oh, boo. Yeah, I know. I have work tomorrow, though, so I got to get some sleep before I go into work. I've been running on like 3 hours of sleep each night this weekend, so yeah, I'm gonna call it. I'll be back tomorrow night, working on more of the same. Hopefully, getting this thing done. Catch you later, Brent.